Hello, guys, and welcome back to the FPL Duo. We're back for another stream, and today we're going to be discussing transfer tips for Game Week 3. So, welcome everyone. Welcome to the channel. How you doing, Jordan? Everything good?
Yeah, everything's good. I hope everyone is having a nice day and week. And yeah, Game Week 3 transfer tips is just right here, right now. So yeah, a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we're going to get into it all and speak about what players we should be looking at, and also players we be offloading as well for Game Week 3. And there's quite a bit to discuss as well. So let's get into it. So first up on the buy, and that is Ben Chilwell at Chelsea. Now, we know Ben Chilwell started the season off as a 5.5 million defender. He has already had two price rises actually. So he's now 5.7 million, and his ownership is now just above 25%. So he's fairly highly owned now by quite a few managers. And we'll take a look at Ben Chilwell. He's had two appearances so far, and he's also had the one assist. He got that nice assist against in the Liverpool match, and then also he did score that offside goal. Taking a look at his expected assists per 90 as well, 0.43, which is pretty high. And you take a look at his next 5 fixtures, a lot of them look very favourable on paper. He's got Luton at home in Game Week 3, Nottingham Forest in Game Week 4, Bournemouth, Villa, and Fulham to come. And if I was taking a punt, I already own Chilwell, but if you are looking to bring in a defender, then Chilwell would be kind of at the top of my priority, really. Just the fixtures look really good. And again, he does have that attacking threat that we've seen, down the years with Ben Chilwell. The only issue that has been really is that he does pick up injuries, but when he's fit, we know what a good option he is. And what do you make of Chilwell, Jordan, for players, managers looking for a defender to bring in? You take a look at the fixtures; they look very good on paper.
Yeah, in terms of Chelsea assets, Chilwell, I think as a defender is a brilliant buy to bring in now, especially now that Chelsea are now over the difficult fixtures where they were against Liverpool in Game Week 1, and in Game Week 2 they have West Ham. So now they have a much easier row of green fixtures, with starting with Luton at home, which looks pretty strong to play, obviously at their home stadium. And also Ben Chilwell, I'd say, is one of the Chelsea players so far who has shown obviously his ability to play on that left-hand side, left wing back, attacking and playing high up on that left-hand side, providing obviously from one assist he provided that, which led to a goal. So he is proven as a defender pick to be quite valuable in terms of attacking returns, as he's already got one assist so far in his 2 appearances. And yeah, his ownership is on the rise at 25.1%. I expect that to go much higher come near the deadline. And I imagine a few of us are looking for replacements, especially because of the Gabriel, as he was benched the other day. So as a replacement for Gabriel, I think a lot of people are looking to buy Chilwell, which, well, the fixtures pretty much say it all, and his form as well for Chelsea has been really good so far. Hopefully he can stay fit and not get injured, because his run of fixtures provide, I think, a lot of points, if it isn't for clean sheets, but also for those attacking returns, which Chilwell is pretty capable of.
Yeah, we take a look at the defenders. Obviously, Arsenal played last night against Palace. Gabriel surprisingly was benched again 2 games in a row now. And I think if you have Gabriel, then it's probably time to get rid, I think. We also know Reece James is out for a couple of weeks, it looks like. So, Chilwell would be right at the very top of my defenders right now if I'm looking to bring one in. So that's our thoughts on Chilwell. Would you think he's a good buy? The fixtures look good. And yeah, we'd definitely be bringing him in if you don't have him. Let's move on now, Jordan, to the second defender on the lit. Defender, his teammate, and the next buy on our list, and that is Jackson of Chelsea. Now, so yeah, we're recommending you bring in 2 Chelsea players actually for this week. So let's talk about Nicholas Jackson. So he's an interesting pick, I think, because a lot of managers will be looking to bring him in, I believe, because again, we have to come back to the fixtures. Luton at home and Forest at home, and then Bournemouth away in the next three. For those that haven't watched much of Jackson, he has played pretty well in games. However, his finishing is slightly lacking. He hasn't managed to put a chance away. He's had 2 appearances. He hasn't scored yet, but his expected goals per 90 is still fairly high at 0.66. And I know he's not scored yet, but for me, the main encouragement is that he's getting the chances and he's putting himself in the positions to score goals. And with the fixtures turning, green now, I would expect Nicholas Jackson to get on a score sheet very soon. He is priced at 7 million, just over 16% ownership as well, and he's already a player that I'm probably, I am bringing in. I'm pretty certain that he will be coming into my team for João Pedro. And a lot of us do have to make that choice. I think a lot of us do have João Pedro. After he's benching, it looks like Jackson at 7 million could be the one to go for. What do you make of Jackson, Jordan, as an owner, from what you've watched in the first 2 games, and with the fixture run now turning? Is it something that you think that we should be looking to bring a player like him in?
Yeah, I think now is the best time, as we did speak about this before the season obviously started. We talked about the fixtures, and obviously Chelsea did start off with pretty hard ones, as mentioned, Liverpool, West Ham, and now that they're out the way, I think this is the perfect time now to obviously bring in Jackson. I think a few of us, like myself, wanted to bring him in earlier just to see if we could gain some points from obviously not many people going for him in his harder fixtures. But I've liked what I've seen with Nicholas Jackson. Even though he hasn't scored or got any attacking returns, he's had those chances. And I think that's what is just as important. As long as this player is getting chances, even though they're not finishing them, like similar to Darwin Nunez last season, I still think it only takes one fixture, which possibly could be Gameweek 3, where they have Luton at home, as the fixture where Jackson can kick it off with perhaps a goal or an assist, just because of how easy that fixture is, and also the injuries that Chelsea are sustaining now. I feel like Jackson and other such players, like maybe Sterling too, could potentially be a great asset to bring in Gameweek 3, where they have Luton at home, and obviously fixtures onwards after that, you can hold Jackson pretty much all the way through to Gameweek 7 if you wanted to, depending on how well he does, obviously after these fixtures. But yeah, I think buying Jackson now is the perfect time to jump on him early while he has these nice, easy fixtures coming up, and Chelsea overall have definitely improved this season so far.
Yeah, I pretty much echo the same thoughts there. Jackson, definitely, I think he's going to be coming into my team. And yeah, I know you've already owned him, but yeah, let us know what you guys think of Jackson as well. And is he someone that we should be bringing into our team? Do you think it's necessary that we do it with Luton coming up? So let us know, guys, your thoughts in the chat. Also, if you are watching, as always, please make sure you do smash the like button, and also make sure you are subscribed to our channel. Let's move on now, Jordan. Okay, we'll get the buys out the way. So Chilwell, Jackson, that's all nice. Who should we be selling and who should we be offloading from our teams for Gameweek 3 and onwards? And this one might come as a surprise. Now, we've put João Pedro as a sell. For those that own him, he's owned quite considerably. 24% of you guys own him. He had a price rise to 5.6 million as well. I believe he's dropping in price, but if you already have him, that shouldn't really affect you, because obviously you'll still be able to sell him for your buy price. But in regards to João Pedro, we know he got the penalty in Gameweek 1 where he put that away, and he was also benched in Gameweek 2, which is a slight worry that he's not really nailed, or maybe as nailed as we thought. So obviously at João Pedro, I do have him. He will probably be going for me, so that's why I've put him on the list. And yeah, that is due to that him being a rotation risk now, especially with going forward long term. If you need to rely on a striker like me, if you've not got a bench, if you're playing 2 up front, I think João Pedro could be an easy sell, because you can't rely on him to start week in, week out. And you take a look at the fixtures. I know Brighton have done really well so far, and they are a great team. But again, my worry is that rotation risk. And then fixtures: West Ham, Newcastle, Man United back to back. as I said, Brighton have been brilliant, but the main worry is that nailedness. And if you are relying on him starting every week, like a lot of us are, we don't have a bench. If you've got like a Mobama or whoever or an Archer, having João Pedro come off the bench isn't great. So yeah, for me, that is the main reason why he's a sell. And also because, as previously mentioned, if we're looking to bring in a player like Jackson, you have to kind of sell Pedro to make way. What's your thoughts on this type of sell, Jordan? Obviously, you don't own him, but is it someone that you'll be getting rid of after his benching in game week 2, even though he did score that penalty in game week 1?
Yeah, I think it is a bit annoying for those who do own João Pedro that he obviously was benched and came on for half an hour in that second fixture, because it could have been a fixture where if he did start in, he could have potentially scored another goal. But because he isn't fully nailed, even though he's a penalty taker for Brighton, that does obviously echo worries whether you keep João Pedro if the next fixture against West Ham at home, if he appears to be benched again. So yeah, for reasons being he's not completely nailed for Brighton does obviously give worries to those who do have him. So selling João Pedro for someone else, as we spoke about, other forwards that you expect to play obviously 90-minute football, like Jackson, for example, as his teammate Nkunku is out injured. So that only really leaves Jackson to play for Chelsea up front. So in terms of João Pedro, though, there's other options for Brighton other than João Pedro. So that does obviously cause a problem if you want to obviously bring in a player that you know he's going to start every game, because after that West Ham game, the fixtures for Brighton start getting harder now. So I feel like now is the time, even though he has that fixture against West Ham at home, I don't think it's worth the risk. Probably best to sell him before game week 3 for someone who has equally maybe a better fixture, because West Ham is, even though it's a home fixture, can be still tricky, I think.
Okay, let's move on now then to the next player that we recommend that you guys potentially sell ahead of game week 3. And I think this one isn't potentially. I think this one is a must sell, if I'm being honest. That is Darwin Nunez. Now, Darwin Nunez is owned by just under 10% of you managers, so he's still fairly obviously low owned. However, that is now 2 games, and Darwin hasn't been in the starting 11. He's come on for a couple of cameo appearances in both games. But again, the worry is he's not nailed at all. We've seen Liverpool play with Jota up front in both games, which is a worry if you are a Darwin owner. And then Gakpo could play down the middle as well. So with Liverpool, I think Darwin's an easy sell because there's too many like rotation risks surrounding the forward line. I'd think everyone else is bar Salah is probably to ignore. But yeah, if you've got Darwin, I think he's at 7.4 million. He's already dropped in price. I don't think there's any point keeping him because Liverpool have Newcastle next. I can't see him starting against Newcastle away, if I'm being honest. I think Klopp will go with Jota again. After that is Villa, so it's not the easiest of games anyway. And I don't see Darwin starting too much. It's going to be interesting to see in regards to what Liverpool play in midfield. I think McAllister's red card has actually been overturned. So maybe Gakpo goes down the middle as well. So I think Darwin's an easy sell. Would you agree, Jordan?
Yeah, I was actually surprised he didn't play in that Bournemouth game where Liverpool won 3-1. The minutes Darwin has played so far, he's not even played half an hour of football yet. He's only played 28 minutes. So that is shocking because I thought he would play much more minutes than that so far this season. But yeah, it's proven not to be. It's just one of those. Maybe Klopp has him for other competitions, perhaps. Yeah. But yeah, in terms of Premier League, Darwin is not playing many minutes, and that is obviously causing worries. Obviously, his ownership has dropped drastically, now below 10%. His price is expected to drop very soon as well to 7.3 million. So those who still have him, probably worth selling him now because obviously you're losing value on Darwin for keeping him. And in game week 3, he has Newcastle away. So the fixtures do turn a bit in game week 3 and 4. And if Darwin isn't going to start in either one of them, then there's no real purpose of keeping him, which I kind of thought he would obviously play more, but not in these circumstances. He is a sell.
Yep, I agree there. Okay, that's the sales out the way. Let's move on to players that we think you should be looking to hold on to and giving maybe another game week to, maybe another chance to. So these are players that are being transferred out by you managers, and we think that you could potentially hold for at least another week or two. And the first one up on the list is actually Bruno Fernandes. Now, Bruno Fernandes has been a bit frustrating. It's fair to say for owners, 2 appearances, 0 goals, 0 assists. I think it's fair to say that he should have scored by now. I think he had a brilliant chance for the header. I think Rashford crossed it in against Tottenham. Free header. He really should have buried it. And even in that Wolves game, we'd expected a bit more for him. However, we do know Man United have Nottingham Forest at home in game week 3. And I wouldn't particularly like to sell Bruno ahead of a home fixture against Nottingham Forest. Um, his underlying numbers are still quite good. He's been involved a lot. He should have scored by now. Man United could have also had a penalty, depending on how you see it. They could have had a penalty on Saturday against Tottenham for the potential handball from Romero. So if that gets given, Bruno scores a penalty, and then we're celebrating and we're keeping him in our team. I do think it is a bit knee jerky potentially to remove him this early after 2 blanks. I think you got to give him that Nottingham Forest fixture. I don't think it's wise to sell him before not that fixture Nottingham. I think it's a good fixture for him. It's at home, and we expect him to do something. If he doesn't get a return against Nottingham Forest, however, I think he becomes a definite sell for me. At 8.5 million, he's hogging up quite a bit of the budget. But I think surely you give him that Nottingham Forest game and see how he does. What do you make of it, Jordan? Obviously, you own Bruno, I believe, as well. But surely we give him that game, that Nottingham Forest fixture at home, and if he can prove himself and see what he can do.
Yes, it's been a massive talking point this week over Bruno Fernandes and obviously Man United assets. Yes, particularly you would want to hold Bruno for Nottingham Forest at home. Probably the last chance saloon for Man United assets like Bruno Fernandes. The Nottingham Forest at home fixture has proven great for Man United in the past. They did win 2-0 against Nottingham Forest, and then obviously the previous result was 3-0. So not only did they score a lot of goals in both those previous results, but they also kept clean sheets too. So it is a good fixture, I think, for Man United to bounce back in, considering how well their last 2 have gone. So yeah, I'd probably say give Bruno one more chance. Personally, for me, I don't know whether I will or not. But for you guys, you definitely want to hold on to Bruno, I think, just for game week 3, not the Forest at home, and then depending on what happens in that fixture, you may want to consider. I don't know. He's got Arsenal away, so he's going to be tricky for him, and potentially Brighton at home and game week 5. So, but for the moment, I think focus on Bruno game week 3, see how he does at Man United overall against Nottingham Forest at home. He is at Old Trafford, so Man United do play better on their home ground, obviously, with the fans behind them. Maybe there is a change in Man United's momentum.
Yeah, also what I was going to add to that was Bruno is priced at 8.5, of course, but there are a lot of other cheaper midfielders that are outperforming him. And I think that's what's making managers, have less patience this season. Whereas usually with these players, there's not really anyone to downgrade to in that sense where there's not as many options, but there's a lot of options now especially in midfield. There's likes of Mbuemo, scoring every week, it seems. There's Eze, who's doing well, who hasn't scored yet. There's Madison, who is, I believe, gonna potentially miss out on the weekend. So that makes it maybe easier to hold Bruno. However, if Madison becomes fit and available to start, maybe he becomes an easy transfer in. But I think give Bruno another week. I think that's what I'm going to be doing. See how he does against Forest. He can easily get a penalty or set piece, and then we might change our minds going forward. But yeah, I'm giving him another week and seeing how he does. But let us know your thoughts on Bruno and Man United assets in general. Let's move on to another hold, and this is actually another Man United player, and that is his teammate Marcus Rashford. Now, again, Marcus Rashford in a similar boat. He's had 2 appearances and he's blanked. He's expected goals per 90 at 0.35 as well. We also, for those that have watched Man United, have actually seen Rashford struggle to play down the middle. Now, we know last season when Rashford was scoring goals and when he plays his best football, is when he's on the left and he likes to cut in onto his right foot and shoot. However, he's not as effective when playing down the middle, and I think that is causing issues in terms of Man United's actual structure and team. It doesn't look right, I think, and I think Ten Hag, should really move Rashford back out to the left. But however, we know Man United's new striker Højlund is still injured, and until he's fully fit, we won't see Rashford probably switch back into the left. So that is a slight concern. However, again, similar reasons to Bruno, I think Rashford becomes a hold because it is that home fixture against Nottingham Forest, and he's being sold. He's still highly owned, around 44% of you own him, but I think it's still too early to get rid of Rashford because we know he can score. He's done it last season. He is Man United's, I'd like to say, marquee goal scorer. Really, he's the one that Man United look to for the goals, and I would be hesitant removing him personally. But let us know your thoughts, guys. As always, get involved in the chat. We'd love to hear your opinions. What do you make of watching Man United, Jordan? Especially Rashford down the middle is a concern, but again, similar to Bruno, do we give him another chance?
I think yes. I think similar reasons to Bruno, you'll give Rashford another chance. Despite him being isolated in that middle without really any support, and literally just him up top, hasn't really boded well. And obviously that's because of our new signing up front, a striker, being injured. That didn't fit into Ten Hag's plan, obviously. So he didn't really know what to do with Rashford. But yeah, he does play better on the left than obviously that we saw last season, rather than what he's playing centrally at the moment, where he's basically been isolated. No one can really get a pass to him. He's out of the game. His touches have been limitless in the past 2 game weeks. So yeah, even though he may play him centrally again, hopefully not. Maybe he plays him left and goes different for Nottingham Forest at home. But we'll give him one more chance, obviously, to see how he does at Nottingham Forest at home, and obviously we move on from there, depending on how Rashford copes in that fixture.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. But again, let us know, guys, what are you doing with Marcus Rashford and Bruno Fernandes and the Man United assets? Are you keeping? Do you think they still, the fixture's too good to sell? Or do you think, it's time to get rid? You've had enough of these players. Let us know. We're interested to know your thoughts. But let's move on again to some players that we think you should be looking to ignore. And first up is actually Romero. Now, Romero has been transferred in by a few managers. There's been a bit of a surge. And take a look at his ownership. Still very low owned, but we thought we'd put him on here. And it's not because we think he's necessarily a bad pick. It's more to the fact that if you're going for a Spurs defender, I would rather bring in an attacking player. Obviously, with Romero, he's not really going to get you a goal. He's not really going to get you an assist either. He is priced at 4.5 million. And at that price, I definitely prefer Udogie, the other wing-back, the left wing-back playing at Spurs right now. I think Udogie is 100% better pick than Romero if you are looking to target the fixtures of Tottenham. Obviously, Tottenham have a very nice run of fixtures. Bournemouth, Burnley, Sheffield. You could potentially see a clean sheet in there. You could see some goals as well. And if I was going for a Tottenham defender, I think Udogie is the only one, and Pedro Porro I'd be going for. I would not be bringing in a centre-back. So that's my thoughts on it. What do you make of, obviously, Romero being an ignore, but do you think Udogie is a good option? Because you take a look at that the 3 fixtures coming up. Again, looks very good on paper.
Yeah, absolutely. Also with Romero's goal, he didn't start in that second, obviously, in game week 2. He came on for literally 30 minutes, which fortunately led to a goal being scored by him. So I think there's a bit of fortune there with Romero, and obviously the goal he scored that fixture. But yeah, he is a player that we don't normally see in terms of FPL as a option to go for in terms of an attacking minded defender. On the other hand, we've got Udogie, who did look pretty good in his last fixture. He could have got an assist, but was cancelled out. So I think I would prefer going with an attacking defender over, obviously, Romero. Obviously, there's a lot of people bringing him in. His ownership is rising because of the goal, which was scored. But again, Romero doesn't always start Let's just remember that he's a defender that doesn't always start in games, as he obviously came on in Game Week 2 for 13 minutes. So
Yeah.
you want a nailed defender too. He's going to start these games, especially the fixtures that Spurs have from Game Week 3 to 5, and they have Bournemouth away, Burnley away, and Sheffield United at home. So they have back-to-back newly promoted teams. And if Romero doesn't start in one of those, I think I'll be pretty much missing out on, obviously, maybe Udogie, who will probably start in both of those fixtures. So, yeah, I would probably ignore Romero, despite him scoring the goal, and probably
And the clean sheet, obviously.
and a clean sheet. So I'll probably move on to a more nailed defender if you're looking at Spurs.
Yeah, I think he's an easy ignore. Just not the ceiling there for points in terms of goals, even though he did score in Game Week 1. Let's move on to the final ignore for this game week, and that is actually Semenyo, the cheap 4.5 million striker at Bournemouth. Now, as you guys know, Semenyo did actually score against Liverpool on the weekend, and as you know, that what usually happens in FPL. People like to bring the players in, and again, my worry with Semenyo is he going to start completely going forward? Because in Game Week 1 against West Ham, he only played 15 minutes. Against Liverpool, he was subbed off after 75 minutes. I guess if he's a cheap bench player, maybe you're wild carding or something like that. I think, 4.5 million playing at getting minutes at Bournemouth is fine. But if you're looking to bring him in to start him or anything like that, I think he's an easy ignore. His ownership is above 2%. Again, fixtures are tough, you'd say, for Bournemouth, Tottenham, Brentford, Chelsea, and Brighton and Arsenal. So fixtures are not good, and I'd definitely be ignoring him unless, again, like I said, you're wild carding and you want to have him on a bench fodder. But yeah, he's an easy ignore. What's your thoughts on it? I'm pretty sure it's the same. You'll pretty much agree with what I'm saying.
Yeah, pretty much. I think if I was to go for a forward for Bournemouth, it would probably be Solanke, because I believe he's on penalties too.
Yeah.
So you've got more upside going for, obviously, Dominic Solanke, who can score from open play, but also can take penalty kicks as well. And for Semenyo, again, he's another player that doesn't play 90-minute football. He could come on off of the bench or not start in games, and again, you'd want a forward that's going to start each game. On top of that, the fixtures as well, they're not great for Bournemouth. Tottenham at home in Game Week 3, then Brentford away, Chelsea at home, then Brighton away, and then Arsenal at home to top it off in Game Week 7. So the fixtures get worse, I think, as obviously they continue. So yeah, Semenyo easy ignore, despite him scoring a goal against Liverpool.
Okay, nice one. Let's take a few of your questions. So get your comments in, guys. We're going to read a few out and just answer, any questions that you guys have for us. Ali Mac with the chat says, "Hi both. Eze out, Sterling in for me." Ooh, okay, Eze out. I'm not sure I like Eze out, but Sterling in's interesting. We saw Sterling have a very good game on the weekend against West Ham, even though Chelsea did lose. I thought Sterling looked bright. Obviously, won a penalty. And looked pretty good generally. In terms of Eze, not sure I'd be selling him. He's got Brentford next, Wolves in Game Week 4, Aston Villa in Game Week 5, and Fulham in Game Week 6. And I like Eze as a differential at around 13% ownership, still fairly low. I'm not sure I'd be selling him. What's your thoughts on Sterling? I know, Jordan, you're looking at him yourself.
Yes.
Or are you would you be selling someone like Eze with the fixtures I've just read out?
No, I don't think I'd be selling someone like Eze, because again, Eze looked pretty good in that Arsenal game, despite Crystal Palace losing 1-0 to them. He obviously had lots of chances to score in that game. And I do like a player who's playing well, who's getting chances to keep, because eventually they will score. And a player like Eze, where Zaha is now left, and other players from Crystal Palace have, you see Eze being more reliable now in that Crystal Palace attack. So I believe I wouldn't sell him for Sterling. I'll probably want to choose someone else in the midfield who I think is less on form and is struggling to get points.
Who will get more minutes, Foden or Alvarez as well, says Ali Mac. Just to answer this very quickly, I think if you are looking to bring one of those in, I'd probably choose Foden right now. I think Foden is more likely to probably play. Saying that, for those that aren't aware, Man City are closing in on Jeremy Doku, the winger, and it looks like a 60 million euro not release clause, a 60 million uh, fee has been agreed with the club, and it looks like Man City are signing him, and that means even more potential rotation risks for players like Alvarez and Foden. And me personally, I would be avoiding Alvarez. I think if Jeremy Doku signs, again they're going to share the front three slots, so that would slightly worry me with Man City expected to make more signings as well. I think Alvarez isn't as nailed as we think, and even Foden, I think he's great. We know how good he is when he plays, when he starts, and we saw he had a brilliant game against Newcastle, probably the best player on the pitch. But again, he does worry me with the rotation risk with the new signings coming in. But I think I'd have to pick Foden. FPL agent says just to let you know some stats that you might not know. Gabriel actually scored 3 goals out of the last 4 matches against Fulham, and he might play this week. I just think if you've got Gabriel, you have to sell him, if I'm being honest. I think, I gave him that second game week and see if he can start against Palace. However, for me, I think if you've got him, you have to get rid. People may disagree, especially if you are relying on him to start for you. If you've got a bench and you can afford to bench Gabriel, fair enough. I think go ahead, keep him. If you've got someone like Reece James, I'd rather sell Reece James and get the money and then sell Gabriel later on. But if you've not got a bench, surely you sell him, right, Jordan?
Yeah, I think so. With 2 benchings in a row now for Gabriel, and obviously the switch between Gabriel and Saliba, it seems like it's paid off for those who did take out Gabriel already for Saliba, as he did get an 8-pointer.
Yeah.
In that Crystal Palace game, and Gabriel only got 1 for coming on for a few minutes. So, yeah, there is a lot of upside, I think, go for another Arsenal defender, obviously like Saliba, who is playing he's played every game so far for Arsenal, whereas Gabriel now benched 2 times. I think that's clear to, even though he has Fulham and has a good record against Fulham, I still think the risk of keeping him and if he ends up being benched again is too daunting. I think it's considering not many of us have any good bench options to place. Obviously Gabriel, but he does come on as he did in that Crystal Palace game.
Yeah, the point swing between Gabriel and Saliba is very unfortunate. And I feel sorry for the people that went Gabriel. Obviously, I'm one of those people that went Gabriel. I didn't see the leaks. I know. I think Let's Talk FPL actually broke the news to everyone that Gabriel's going to get benched or he's not going to start, and then he put Saliba in, and a lot of people brought Saliba in. And fair play to you guys if you did bring Saliba in. Obviously, the point swing has been quite big. Obviously, Saliba getting the bonus points. I think he got 8 points yesterday with the clean sheet. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's one of those leaks do seem to have a big score say now in FPL, and it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. If you've got Gabriel, I think he is someone that I'd be removing personally. Henry Shaw, can you rate my team? Onana, Chilwell, Saliba, Estupinian, Mbeumo, Saka, Foden, Mitoma, Fernandes, Haaland, Watkins. I've dropped Rashford and Gabriel for Mbeumo and Saliba. I think the team looks good, Henry. You've got in Chilwell, who I think is a good pick. Estupinian again. Mbeumo's doing well. I still think he's got potential to score more goals. I think Brentford's fixtures are decent as well coming up. Foden's a nice pick. I think the team's good. What do you make of it, Jordan? Especially what we see he's got Watkins up front. Do you still have faith in Watkins?
Yeah, I still have faith in Watkins. I mean, it's not like he's had poor form in his fixtures. I think it's just been unfortunate, if I'm honest, not getting any goals. He's got assists, but not goals yet. I think they're coming for Watkins sooner or later, so it's worth holding on to him. I don't know about a lot of people, but yesterday, obviously, when Arsenal had that penalty, I think a few of us were a bit shocked that obviously Odegaard is now the penalty taker. So I don't know what that means. Obviously, if you value Saka more your team or less now, because we brought him in also because Saka was on penalties. So do we go for Odegaard now instead of Saka in our teams?
Yeah, this comment actually by Instant Clips. I thought I'll bring it up now. Is it worth having both Martinelli and Saka? Because I have both. I have Martinelli and Saka. It looks like Odegaard is now the penalty taker, which maybe isn't a surprise because we know Saka's missed a few and Odegaard seems confident to step up and take, obviously being the captain as well. Maybe he does take those duties up. And if that is the case, definitely, it is a slight concern as a Saka owner. The main reason, or one of the main reasons as well, that we bought Saka in is the fact that he is a penalty taker. And if that's not the case, I think he does lessen his appeal. I think with Martinelli and Odegaard, I think it's quite clear for me now. I would prefer Odegaard over Martinelli because Martinelli can be subbed off because there is options with Trossard, etc. With Odegaard, he's more, I think, a 90-minute man. He's probably going to get more minutes. I think we saw that last season. Odegaard pretty much plays every minute. And the fact that now Odegaard's on penalties, I think you probably will side towards him. And he probably does become much more attractive now as an Arsenal option. And if I knew that he was on penalties at the start of the season, I probably wouldn't have started with Martinelli. I would have went Odegaard, I think. But what do you make of it now? Do you think Odegaard is better an option than both of them now? Or do you still think Saka is still the main goal threat for Arsenal and you still think he's the best option?
I still think he's a good option, Saka, despite not being on penalties anymore, because he has shown he's great on form. Like, he was heavily involved in that Crystal Palace game. I think, again, unfortunate to not score in that one either. So I still value Saka as a good FPL asset because he can score goals for open play. But I think in combination, it's going to be interesting who obviously people go for. Do people go for Martinelli and now Odegaard? Because again, Martinelli was really, I was surprised how much space Martinelli had in that Crystal Palace game. No Crystal Palace player was near him in the majority of that game on the left-hand side. So maybe Martinelli and Odegaard is the new combination, or do people stay with Saka regardless of not being a penalty taker?
Comments about City defenders from Michael and also FPL Jesus. Should I get in Ake or Kanji? So quick City chat on defense. I think if you've got, if you're looking to bring in a City defender, I think the one I'd be going for personally is actually neither Ake or Kanji, and that would be Ruben Diaz. I think Ruben Diaz, yes, he's boring. Yes, he's not really going to get you many goals or assists. In that sense, he's quite a boring pick. However, we know that he's probably going to play most of the matches. And if you are looking for someone that is going to play 90 minutes, he's going to pretty much play every week, unless there's a big injury or something like that. I'd play it safe. I am worried about going City defense, but I think if you want to be safe and you want a nailed 90-minute man, I think Ruben Diaz has to be that guy for me anyway. Any news on Maddison? Well, from what I've seen, I saw reports saying that Maddison has an MCL injury, and apparently he could be actually fit for the weekend. However, it's not 100% certain, and that he could actually miss out. And if he does miss out, it'll probably be only the one game, which again, it's not too bad if he only misses one game. However, I think there's only over 100,000 managers that have already transferred in Maddison. And if he doesn't play on the weekend, obviously it is a big worry for those that have bought him in if they've not got a bench. So that's why, guys, it's very, very important that you don't do early transfers if you can. Try wait till the deadline before you bring in players, etc. Because, as you know, we might get news of injuries, etc. midweek. Eddie Nketiah, I don't know if you realize, Jordan, he's got your picture as his profile.
Oh. I did not realize that at all.
Yeah, I don't know how you got that, but yeah, interesting. I have to keep João Pedro for this week since I've already used my free transfer. I'll transfer out him for Wissa next week. Do you think it's okay to keep João Pedro? Like, he was benched again. Fixture coming up. I think they've got West Ham, haven't they?
Yeah, West Ham at home. Brighton have. I mean, I don't know. I'm 50-50 with this one because João Pedro being benched would put me off if I owned him, and I probably would be tempted to take him out because of it, as I would be worried if he doesn't start against West Ham, which again is Brighton's last easy fixture before obviously the swing. So I don't know if I'll take that risk just for that one fixture in case João Pedro is benched again. Then I'll be proper regretting my whole decision in keeping him.
Yeah, I think I'd be getting rid of him if I had him. But if you can't, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to keep him if you're in that position. Also, guys, there is a few of you watching in here. If you haven't liked the video, please make sure you smash the like button. Also, make sure you are subscribed to our channel. We are trying to hit 1,000 subscribers. So make sure you are subscribe the stream. Also, share the video on your socials if you can, Twitter or X, Instagram, WhatsApp, whatever you use. Please share and like on the video. Finally, we'll take any more questions. I think we'll just read a few out. We've got a comment here. Tomiyasu is out, so Gabriel will probably start, but I don't know. Timber out as well. Yeah, Arsenal do have injuries and suspensions, so Gabriel should, in theory, start, but I'm not willing to take that risk, I think. But yeah, I think we're going to wrap it up here, Jordan. It's been a good stream. Well, obviously, we've discussed the players that you should be looking to buy and sell. So let us know your thoughts, guys, in the comments below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Who are you bringing in? Who are you transferring out? Let us know in the chat. I think that's it for us for today. We're back again, I believe, on... Are we back on Thursday, aren't we?
Yeah.
Back on Thursday for a team selection video. So make sure you do tune in, guys, Thursday, where we reveal our teams for Game Week 3 and also talk about the players that we're bringing into our own teams. And there's going to be a lot of transfers because most of us managers have 2 free transfers. So we will definitely be making moves. Just got to tune in and, see what we do. But, that's it for now. Make sure you like and subscribe. Anything else you'd like to add, Jordan, before we do wrap it up?
Take care, guys. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you Thursday for the team selection.